Visit revive partnerships across all sectors. Trump signs his landmark policy bill into law. Salam Malaysia MADANI, this is World Today, I'm SAHIH. French President Emmanuel Macron has described Malaysia's Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim's two-day visit to France as a success, with the two nations reviving partnerships across all sectors. He said this was achieved through the Prime Minister's high-level discussion with his French counterpart, along with other significant officials, as well as his interactions with civil society leaders and meetings with French enterprises. Macron also called the visit meaningful, as it had been 15 years since the last official visit by a high-ranking Malaysian official. He expressed delight to see both countries signing agreements in areas such as minerals and aircraft purchase. He said this during a joint press conference after holding a bilateral meeting with Datuk Seri Anwar at the LC Palace. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister expressed hope that the French President would visit Malaysia after attending the 20th Francophone Summit in Cambodia next year. He said bilateral ties between the countries were getting stronger, with the commitment shown by the French government under Macron's leadership. France remains one of Malaysia's top 5 trading partners within the European Union. In 2024, bilateral trade totaled 15.95 billion ringgit, with 6.26 billion ringgit recorded between January and May this year. On a separate note, the Prime Minister emphasized the necessity of restructuring the relationship between Southeast Asia and Europe based on equality and mutual respect. During a public lecture at the Sorbonne University in Paris, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim welcomed Europe's involvement in the Indo-Pacific region. However, he urged that this relationship should not be characterized by dominance or solely based on strategic concerns.
So I put it to you that it is time for Southeast Asia and Europe to redefine the terms of our engagement as equals, as co-creators, as partners in a world yearning for balance. To be sure, we welcome partners, but we welcome them as equals, not as condescending collocutors, not as instrument for containment, not as a cover for anxiety, and not as projections of other people's wars and fears.
In conclusion, Datuk Seri Anwar also urged both regions, Asia and Europe, to make the dignity and worth of individuals the foundation of international relations. United States President Donald Trump has signed his landmark policy bill into law at the White House on Friday, one day after the Republican-controlled House of Representatives narrowly approved the signature legislation of the Trump's second term. The bill, which will fund Trump's immigration crackdown, make his 2017 tax cuts permanent and is expected to knock millions of Americans off health insurance, was passed after an emotional debate on the House floor.
What we've done is put everything into one bill. It's never happened before. It's the biggest bill of its type in history. We've never had anything like that before. Nothing like that they thought would be possible to get passed. And actually, I liked it because we had so much in there that no matter who you are, there was something in that bill that would make your congressman or your senator or your congresswoman, much more importantly, raise their hand and support.
The bill's passage amounts to a big win for Trump and his Republican allies, who have argued it will boost economic growth, while largely dismissing a non-partisan analyst predicting it will add more than $3 trillion to the nation's $36.2 trillion debt. South Korean authorities ordered on Friday SK Telecom to strengthen data security and impose a fine after the country's biggest mobile carrier was hit by a cyber attack that caused the leak of 26.96 million pieces of user data. The measures come after SK Telecom in April disclosed that it had suffered a major leak of customer data caused by a malware attack. The Ministry of Science and ICT in a statement said SK Telecom failed to fulfill its duty of care to protect USIM data and did not comply with relevant regulations. USIM refers to Universal Subscriber Identity Module cards used in smartphones. The ministry said it would impose a fine of up to 30 million won and SK Telecom must enforce security measures at least once a quarter, have its chief executive officer directly oversee data governance and increase personnel and investment in data security. Following the government's announcement, SK Telecom unveiled a variety of measures to compensate its affected customers and beef up information protection. The company said it will invest about 700 billion won over 5 years for data protection and give a discount of 50% for August subscription fees for all of its 24 million customers. A strike by French air traffic controllers entered its second day, causing further flight delays and cancellations at the start of Europe's peak travel season. The Civil Aviation Agency stated airlines to cancel 40% of flights at the three main Paris airports because of the strike. The strike, according to air traffic controllers, is a result of staff shortages and outdated equipment. French Transport Minister Philippe Tabarot called the strike unacceptable. He also added the actions of 272 employees of the industry affected more than 500,000 people. The minister criticized the striking air traffic controllers, claiming that their salaries had already been increased by 7% last year, while their working week was 32 hours and retirement age was 59. Two unions for French air traffic controllers, the USAC CGT and UNSA ICNA, which represent 33% of the industry's employees, call for the action. They demand better working conditions for employees as well as an end to structural staff shortages and toxic management. The Embassy of Malaysia in Jakarta has contacted Indonesia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs regarding a Malaysian citizen feared to be among the victims still missing in a passenger ferry incident. The individual, identified as Fauzi Awang, is believed to have been inside a tourist van that was also on board the ferry KMP Tunu Pratama Jaya when it capsized in the Bali Strait. It was understood that he was on his way back to Malaysia via Ikuti Ngurah Rai International Airport in Bali after taking the van from Ketapang Port, East Java. According to the embassy in a statement, the local authorities are currently in the process of verifying the whereabouts of the individual in question. The embassy has also contacted the victim's family and is closely monitoring the progress of the ongoing search and rescue operation. At least 6 people were dead and dozens unaccounted after a ferry sank in rough seas on its way to the Indonesian resort island Bali. Rescuers were racing to find 30 people still missing at sea after the vessel carrying 65 passengers and crew sank before midnight on Wednesday as it sailed to the popular holiday destination from Indonesia's main island Java.
Guna mentol jimat tenaga untuk lebih jimat.
Coming up next, Malaysia-France reaffirm call for Gaza. Kuala Lumpur and Paris reiterate their stance and urge for immediate action to resolve the tensions in the Middle East. Both countries also demand that Israel, the source of the issues, be held accountable.
And it's a shame that the international community is not able to resolve this. So your initiative was supported by us. No question about peace. And if it takes both sides to secure peace, I agree with you. That's why we are also committed to the two-state solution. we also condemn the Israeli aggression into Iran.
Humanitaire intenable. Il est de la responsabilité d'Israël de laisser la population civile accéder à l'aide humanitaire. C'est le même souci du droit international qui nous a fait constater l'absence de base légale des frappes récentes contre l'Iran et appeler à une solution négociée.
The French president said he and Dato' Sri Anwar agreed that a two-state solution is the best way to resolve the issue of Palestine-Israel. The call was made by Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim and French President Emmanuel Macron during a press conference in Paris. On a related note, Hamas stated it was ready to start talks immediately on a proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza. The Civil Defense Agency said Israel's ongoing offensive killed more than 50 people. The announcement came after it held consultations with other Palestinian factions and before a visit by Israeli Prime Minister to Washington, where President Donald Trump is pushing for an end to the war. Trump earlier announced a final proposal for a 60-day ceasefire in the nearly 21-month-old war between Israel and Hamas, stating he anticipated a reply from the parties in coming hours. Hamas wrote on its official website that the movement has completed its internal consultations as well as discussion with Palestinian factions and forces regarding the latest proposal by the mediators to halt the aggressions against the people in Gaza. A massive explosion occurred at a gas station in Rome, injuring about 45 people, most of them only lightly hurt. Visiting the scene, Rome Mayor Roberto Gualtieri said the injured include 12 law enforcement officers, 6 firefighters and 3 emergency rescuers who had arrived on the scene after an initial smaller blast. The Rome Mayor said there had been a gas leak during a refueling operation and initial fire. Emergency services were on the scene and evacuations were already underway when the blast occurred. Mobile phone footage shared online showed a huge fireball shooting into the sky, followed by a black smoke that swept across the Prenestino neighborhood of Eastern Rome. The sound was heard across the internal city, with windows shaking even across town. The explosion occurred at a gas station on Via Gordini in Rome's Prenestino district. Preliminary investigations by the local fire department suggest the blast may have been caused by a fuel pump detaching from a tanker truck. Authorities are continuing to investigate the incident. Rescue operations were ongoing on Friday after a multi-story residential building in Karachi, Yari area collapsed, with the death toll following the incident rising to 12, according to an emergency services official. Search and rescue teams worked into the night using excavators to clear away debris and rubble. The incident happened shortly after 10 a.m. local time in the impoverished Yari neighborhood of Karachi, which was once plagued by gang violence and considered one of the most dangerous areas in Pakistan. Rescuers earlier retrieved 7 bodies from the rubble and rescued 8 injured people. An emergency services official also said 5 to 6 people had been injured and taken to hospital. Earlier in the day, Saad AV of the AD Foundation said the building had previously been declared uninhabitable by government authorities and notices were issued under the Sindh Building Control Authority. Despite the warning, some families continued to live in the building, which has now completely collapsed. Up to 100 people had been living in the building. Firefighters respond as a new blaze fanned by strong winds rages east of Greece's capital Athens. The new wildfire broke out at Koropi, a town some 30 kilometers east of Athens, where residents received text messages from civil protection units urging them to evacuate the vicinity. Greek firefighters told the media on Friday the wildfire has caused the evacuation of 5,000 tourists and locals. In all, 120 firefighters were at the scene with 30 engines, 8 planes and the same number of helicopters. At least 2 water bombers and 2 helicopters were battling the wildfire. The blaze destroyed several houses, vehicles and also disrupted ferries to and from tourist islands in the western Aegean, including Mykonos. Concerns remain for the coming days, particularly Saturday when temperatures are due to rise with the risk of fire still high. According to the WWF and the National Observatory of Athens Research Institute, fires on Greece's fifth biggest island Chios in the northern Aegean destroyed 4,700 hectares of land last month. 24 people have died in flash floods outside the U.S. city of San Antonio. A county official in Central Texas told reporters late Friday, with the toll rising from 13. Kerr County Sheriff Larry Latia in an Evening Express conference confirmed that 24 people had died. State and local officials warn against residents travelling to the area, which includes campgrounds dotted along the river with dozens of roads impassable. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said rescue missions were being done around the clock and rescues will not stop until everyone is accounted for. Freeman Martin, director of the state's Public Safety Department, said the flood was a mass casualty event. About 500 rescue personnel and 14 helicopters were deployed, with the Texas National Guard sending rescue teams and the U.S. Coast Guard joining efforts. Authorities said the area is the most dangerous river valley in the United States, referring to the Guadalupe River that flows through the region. Forecasters issued a flood warning for Kerr County, urging those living near the river to move to higher ground. In mid-June, at least 10 people were killed by flash flooding in San Antonio.
Bersihkan penapis penghawa dingin dan tetapkan 24 darjah Celsius untuk lebih jimat.
Brazil's Fluminense continued their fairy tale run at the Club World Cup with a 2-1 win over Saudi Arabia's Al Hilal on Friday in Orlando to book their place in the semi-finals. Portuguese forward Diogo Jota and his younger brother Andre Silva, who both died in a car crash on Thursday. Fluminense opened the scoring when Portugal's Prime Minister Luis Montenegro joined members of Diogo Jota's family for a private wake on Friday in the Liverpool footballer's hometown in northern Portugal, following his death alongside his brother Andre Silva in a car crash in Spain. A convoy of hearses carrying the bodies left for Gondomar near Porto on Thursday evening from the mall of Vila di Sanabria, near where the Lamborghini the brothers were travelling in, had veered off the road and burst into flames after midnight on Thursday. Police said they suspected a tyre had burst. Gondomar's mayor's office said a wake was held at a chapel in Gondomar and a funeral is expected to take place on Saturday at a church nearby at 10 a.m. local time. The death of Jota at the age of 28 has jolted the world of football, with messages of homage pouring in from former teammates, clubs, national leaders and fans. Liverpool fans gathered outside Anfield on Friday to pay their tributes and respects to the club's Portuguese forward, Diogo Jota, who died in Spain early on Thursday. Fans have left flowers, scarves and shirts outside Anfield, and there are similar scenes at Wolves Molineux Stadium where Jota played prior to his move to Anfield. An Everton delegation including 4 forwards, Beto and Yusuf Kermeti, visited to pay the respect and lay worth. Liverpool have opened a book of condolence and lowered flags to half-mast. Liverpool's first pre-season match was due to take place at Preston on 13th of July. However, the club posted a statement on its website saying ticket sales for the game have been suspended following the devastating passing of Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva. Defending Wimbledon champion Carlos Alcaraz was given another tough litmus test by plucky German Jan-Lennart Struff, but the second seed battled his way to a 6-1, 3-6, 6-3, 6-4 win and reached the 4th round on Friday. An off-colour Alcaraz had flirted with danger in his 5-set opener against Italian veteran Fabio Fognini before mowing down British hope Oliver Tarvet in the last round, begging the question of which avatar of the Spaniard would turn up. The 22-year-old, who was taken the distance by Struff, began the match with a double fault and sprayed errors on centre court, but rediscovered his rhythm to book a clash with Andre Rublev. Alcaraz saved 2 break points in the second service game and then broke for a 3-1 lead, gaining the foothold he needed in the match before wrapping up the opening stands on serve, hitting a huge ace on set point. However, the 5-time Grand Slam winner surrendered the next set as Struff recovered an early break and went on to level the match comfortably. And a timely double fault from Struff in the second game of the third set gave Alcaraz the platform to re-establish his lead. And the twice Wimbledon champion never looked back from there until he closed it out with another big serve. In the fourth set, Alcaraz pounced on Struff's sloppiness at the net when the German missed a simple volley before pulling away with a break and completing his 21st straight tour level win. In the women's draw, Aryna Sabalenka looked shaken and stirred on Friday, as it appeared she would become the most high-profile name to join the mass exodus of Wimbledon seats before her survival instinct kicked in to secure a 7-6, 6-4 third-round win over Emma Raducanu. Wimbledon fans are no strangers to flood-lit blockbusters featuring British home favourites, with Andy Murray providing plenty of late-night thrills under a closed centre court roof during his stellar career. On Friday, it was Raducanu's turn to provide all the drama as she surged to a 4-2 lead in the first set and was again up 4-1 in the second. Sabalenka, the sole survivor among the top 6 women's seed, was left shell-shocked when she missed 7th set and braked point at 5-4 on Raducanu's serve, serving her way out of trouble. At the 8th time of asking, in the tie-break, Sabalenka finally silenced the crowd when she produced a stop volley to back the set, her achievement being greeted by only a smattering of applause. Raducanu, who surged into a 5-1 lead in the second, failed to take the set as Sabalenka turned on the power to win the last 5 games and extinguished Raducanu's hope of reaching the 4th round for the 3rd time after netting a service return on match point. The top seed will next face Belgium's Elise Mertens. Still to come on our offbeat segment. Sotheby's is set to auction on 10th July the original prototype of the Hermes Birkin bag, famously crafted for and worn by singer-actress Jane Birkin. The bag was created specifically for Birkin in 1985 by then Hermes CEO Jean-Louis Dumas after a chance of knitting on a plane where the artist complained about her overstuffed bag. She was then travelling with a young Charlotte Gainsbourg, her daughter. Jane Birkin's leather bag is bigger than regular Birkins and features a non-removable strap unlike the model sold commercially. It also has Birkin initials JB on the flap.
Il a des particularités, par exemple il a une bandoulière qui ne se retire pas. Vous connaissez forcément les Birkin, il n'y a pas de bandoulière sur les Birkin. Sur celui-ci, il y en a une. Vous avez aussi les initiales GB et les traces des anciens stickers qu'elle a mis dessus. C'était vraiment la reine de la personnalisation.
While the price's estimate is only available upon request, Sotheby's anticipates setting a record with the sale. Vasi cited as previous example, a Hermes Kelly crocodile leather bag encrusted with diamonds was sold for more about $500,000 US, and Princess Diana's black sheepwolf sweater was sold for $1 million US. A Gothic church in Poland has been transformed into a large indoor forest as part of an innovative art installation. The interior of the historic St. John's Church in Nantes is now adorned with plants, trees and shrubs, creating a unique multi-sensory experience for visitors. The immersive experience includes not only plants but also nature sounds composed by artists, custom designed fragrances and a forest installation called Rosetta by artist Gozia Golinska.
So a part of this beautiful real plants, we have also sounds of nature which were composed by our artists We have a delicate smell of perfumes, which was designed especially for this occasion. And we have this magical element of our forest, which is the installation Rosetta by Gosia Golinska.
Musician Marcin Dimiter, who contributed the sound of composition, described it as a combination of various natural sounds, including forests, rivers and the Baltic Sea.
Super GT 2025 Series dengan 8 siaran langsung perlumbaan. Pusingan 1, 13 April dibawakan dari Litar Okayama International Circuit. Pusingan 2, 4 Mei dibawakan dari Litar Fuji Speedway. Pusingan 3, 28 Jun dibawakan dari Litar Sepang. Pusingan 4, 3 Ogos. Pusingan 5, 24 Ogos dibawakan dari Litar Fuji Speedway. Pusingan 6, 21 September dibawakan dari Litar Sportsland Sugo. Pusingan 7, 19 Oktober dibawakan dari Litar Autopolis. Dan pusingan 8, 2 November dibawakan dari Litar Mobility Resort Montegi di saluran sukan RTM. Juga secara pensyuaman langsung di RTM Click.
That's it from us this afternoon. In our top story, French visit revive partnerships across all sectors. Malaysia Tonight comes at 8:30 p.m. this evening on TV1 and MyTV's Berita RTM news channel. Malaysia MADANI, Rakyat, Disantuni. Thanks for watching.